let's go into the list of U.S. politicians that I've personally dealt with and the reasons why, and of course how. First of all, John Kerry. He's missing a hand, so he can't salute or signal to you because he's military trained on how to speak back to him, meaning he has to go forever. He can't exchange conversation. To do this, I created the slur Senator Flip Flop at my Alumni Fund call center on campus in 2004 during the election's early premature discussions around maybe March. And it got on the radio. Not the way you do it. Everybody knows a veteran's missing an arm, but he came after me. And I have a character planted by Malcolm X called the Rhino. And if you chase the Rhino, the Nation of Islam, the Israeli Defense Forces African community, Tupac Shakur, they come after your politician. Now let's go into George W. Bush. George W. Bush was the next on my hit list. He was declared as a war criminal in the news. His downfall came shortly after the Kerry election. To do this, I did a Tory horse bet. A Tory horse bet is how you counter Democrat cops. Those are cops that want to control the election by electing a minority, then forcing each and every one to vote with a Democrat candidate matching skin color. Or if none, they can vote Republican and in fact are expected to, and they have to vote forever. The way I did this Tory horse bet was that I recommended that Colin Powell spoke Yiddish. Colin Powell spoke Yiddish, and I happened to mention it online. I said, do you remember that time Colin Powell was in an episode of Dark Skies as a Vietnam veteran that went to Russia to kill aliens? George W. Bush was privately outed as a police officer, his factual background on his college campus. Next, I had to take out Barack Hussein Obama. Before the Kerry incident, I had submitted an essay to UMass Amherst about the show about nothing, the show Seinfeld. To go into Seinfeld, it's the tale of first-time comedian Jerry Seinfeld having his name stolen by Kenny Kramer, an undercover cop in the NYPD anti-fraud counter-fraud unit. He was investigating the garment district and various irregularities with hedge funds, a claimed investment group or consolidated actually investing in support commodities out of Japan through Thrace, an old type of kingdom practice in the Catholic Church. It was a mafia set. So Seinfeld had to take the name Kenny Bania and go on stage and duel Kenny Kramer, and they made the show where Seinfeld plays Kenny Kramer. So I wrote the show about nothing from the episode where they try to write a sitcom. They deliberately shark jumped themselves by explaining how the show was written. Now this cigarette is the nothing they're talking about. The show about nothing refers to not mentioning it that you're going to smoke when you leave a room, particularly at dinner with your parents. That way you can quit more easily because your parents aren't buying you cigarettes on their funding. Every single speech Obama made since stealing the essay, because it was prior stolen through Will Morgan Jr., an old associate of mine, trying to trap me in town to be a businessman, and he wanted revenge for the refusal. And he put his name on it and gave it to Barack Obama, attempting to seduce an African woman he's now married to. So Barack Obama, in the second term, had a legendary psychotic break in front of Israel. The shoulders break, Dick Tracy. Now, how about before that, Romney, Mitt Romney? Simple. The Mormons have a prank on Native Americans and Jews where they say we're the same, despite the fact that Native Americans are capable of lying and Jews can't eat shellfish, making the lines impossible to merge. My name is David, a Philistine origin name commonly applied to Jews. So I ate 4 lobsters Halloween on campus in 2003. That is a 3 down off a quad with a half and half, a native and a Jew. 47% a common theme of his opinion of his own state's health care. The 47% he's helping, which is me. Myself having been a mental patient that proposed in front of military scholars that Obamacare would overtake the Romney Care system, when in fact Romney Care was just paying for scared straight, hospital visits, ambulance rides, anything that was considered mandatory by police that was charged to the private citizen. Obamacare is nursing powers for police, but it was commonly hidden by the news, who didn't understand it. Let's move on to Donald J. Trump. Let me relight my cigarette. Donald J. Trump, Donald J. Trump. He induced riots in his own capital from recruiting white supremacists to support him. Where is a white supremacist from, anyways? If you are a person that once played a collectible card game such as Magic the Gathering, Star Trek, Star Wars, special playing card decks like Bicycle with special marks, even tarot decks and card games that are on limited print, and you leave your cards in the attic and someone in the family steals them for their kids turn into real-life home invasion rapist pedophiles. Real ones. And they break into people's houses and they rape them. Then they go to prison and they get beaten up into thugs and they become white supremacists. So you're asking me, how does this lead to a riot? Simple. White supremacists design things like Dungeons and Dragons, computer programs for gaming, Pathfinder, Warhammer 40K, all of it. And they try to play a real-life video game with the law. And then Trump self-noosed by taking a plaintiff charge against himself as defendant to prove his reputation in public as slander. He tried to oppose the Dungeon Master, all of his supporters, and it caused a riot. They thought the government had betrayed them, when in fact it was just him breaking D&D rules, Dungeons and Dragons rules, the rule of the prison corrections officers enforcing a slang term. Let's move on to Trump's competitor, Hillary Clinton. I've placed through 5 dummies the Bond movie villains as poker strategies. Each one is against Jewish women. They're all pro-prostitution. Not transgender prostitution either, but women born as women. And then I appeared in pornography with a prison tops back instruction. I declared myself a bitch. Not necessarily offensive unless you consider that most psychiatrists are prison rapists. That's a chemical castration. And Hillary Clinton defended me before she horribly realized that being a prison top posing as a bottom in a movie gives every single cop on the force a psychotic break. That's right, a cop is a prison rapist and I stand cop. So Hillary Clinton, by Michelle Obama's hand, was injected on a Lou Gehrig's disease inducement once used on Stephen Hawking. To continue, how have I destroyed Marco Rubio? After I was committed in 2004, taking down John Kerry and narrowly surviving the heat for the several months of the summer between freshman and sophomore year, I constructed the elaborate lie that I was a history teacher, pre-law, and I was going to go to law school nights. AOC's exact background. And it got around to my family, who works for John Hancock and Lockheed Martin. So now they support AOC, not Marco Rubio, as a politician. AOC makes kayfabe comments, professional wrestling, without realizing it. It was an athlete in her school that once heard her support kayfabe by saying wrestling is real. She was referring, of course, to the actual sport of wrestling, not pro wrestling. Hence, any athlete, homosexual, and athlete effeminate, is now against Marco Rubio. Finally, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. What have I done to you today, Biden? And you're in office. Joe Biden, I supported you as Richard Milhouse Nixon on the internet with the cyber sex community. But what is cyber sex? These games. There are love letters that women look at for porn. But Nixon didn't have a penis by birth. He was a shellfish diver, a pearl diver, a Vietnamese royal. Thousands of years ago, before coming to Arabia, Germany, and Ireland, his own family German, they're all born as women. So they thought Biden was Mr. Ladies Man. The problem is a male top turns into a transgender if they try to have a love letter exchange with a woman. A male top is into armpits. A woman's armpits. That's a male top. And you can't get that in cybersex. All you get is anal with women. They want you to screw them up the ass so they can go to their husband and not get screwed, get kissed in the asshole. The only way for a woman to have an orgasm. Sorry, Biden. You're being probed for cancer.